Hi guys, got a fruit juice Tetra Pack here, which we're going to make into a rubber band powered car. But before we start, I'm going to go and give it a coat of paint, because it's got to dry out a bit inside anyway. I'm going to leave the top off, so while it's drying, I might as well paint it. I've painted the Tetra Pack with some pretty rough old paint, to be honest. It's all got bits in it, but that's not going to matter. So we need front axle, back axle. We'll need a hole in it so we can actually reach through and wind up the rubber band. You can either do it on top or underneath. Underneath might be easier. I reckon I can glue drinking straw straight across there for the front axle. That should keep it parallel with the back, because we're using an existing fold in the Tetra Pack. For the back axle, I'm just going to drill a couple of holes through. What I will use, rather than a drill, I'll use my pointy stick. Proper name for it, I believe, is a brad awl, A-W-L. So, right in the centre of the cross. Centre of the cross. Those holes will be much too small, so we need to make them bigger. Pencil. Now, what I'm going to do now is use super glue to reinforce those holes, because when it dries it's quite rigid. So we need to leave that to soak in and dry. And then you might have to check the shape of those holes again, because the cardboard tends to expand and fold in a bit. While we're waiting for the glue to dry, and try not to put your fingers on it or you'll stick your fingers to the cardboard, go ahead and cut out an access hole here so we can reach inside to wrap the rubber band round the axle. So I can reach inside there to wrap up the rubber band. So, hot glue across the front here. Just make that wide enough so the wheels won't rub on the bodywork. If you want, you could put a couple of little bits of straw in there. Those will help keep the wheels away from the bodywork. They might also help protect the holes, because what happens when you tighten up the rubber bands, they tend to tear into the cardboard, tear the axle into the cardboard. So putting those on like that will actually protect it. I'm not going to do that this time. I'm just going to rely on the super glue protecting it. To save a bit of time, I'm going to pinch the wheels and axles off of this one. These ones have already got rubber tyres on. Check the video description, you'll find a link for doing that, or you can just watch the previous episode where I made this one. Because I've used these wheels several times, they're becoming a bit loose. The plastic is giving way. They'll probably be alright for this episode, but I either need to glue them to make them stay on the axle properly, or put new plastic tops on. And the other thing you might want to do is put spacers in there so that they don't rub against the side of the bodywork, which is what I was saying about putting them in. If you glue them into the sides there, they'll keep the wheels away from the bodywork. Rubber bands, where are we? I've got some here already joined together. It's probably far too many. Just drop them in through there. There we go. I reckon I need those. As usual, you could glue a little T-piece on there at right angles to hook your rubber band onto, or you can just wrap it round so it holds itself in place. That should do. I think I'll do this and then I'll do a little modification and put those little stub axle tubes in there to keep the wheels away from the bodywork. First test run. Well, that worked. Yeah, that one certainly works. I'll just do that little modification though and put those extra axle tubes on. So I just need a couple of short stub axle tubes. And leave that to cool down. Right, now you can probably see that's going to keep the wheels well away from the bodywork. Summary time. What have we got? We've got a Tetra Pack. So that's a fruit juice carton. And I've painted it. And I've used 4 CDs for the wheels, 8 plastic bottle tops for the hubs, 2 barbecue skewers for the axles. Cut a hole in the bottom so we've got access to the axle, and I've shown 2 ways of doing this. I've shown it just making holes in the cardboard and reinforcing it with super glue, or putting little stub drinking straw tubes through for the axle tubes. And at the front end all I've done is just hot glued an axle tube, a drinking straw straight across. Rubber band I'm just pushing through the hole and hooking it around there, and that holds it in place. You could put a little bit of barbecue skewer straight through side to side to hold it a bit more securely, but that works. Job done.